Welcome to the Alternate Assessment Modules, Part 1. I'm Lori Morris, Director of Special Assessment Design for the Assessment, Accountability, and Data Governance Division. This module will discuss an overview of the Alternate Assessment Program, who participates, including eligibility requirements, the goals of our alternate assessments, an overview of the MSAA alternate assessment, as well as TCAP Alt for Science and Social Studies and the Grade 2 Alt. This is an overview of our alternate assessment program. Students who meet the qualifications for the alternate assessment and for whom the IEP team determined that the alternate assessment is the most appropriate will take the following assessments in 2017 and 18. If a district determines that students will participate in the Grade 2 assessment, students should also be given the opportunity to participate in the Grade 2 alternate assessment if the IEP team determines that this is the most appropriate assessment. Students in grades 3 through 8 will participate in both MSAA for English Language Arts and Math, as well as TCAP Alt for Science and Social Studies. Students enrolled in grades 10 will participate in the TCAP Alt Biology, and students enrolled in grade 11 will participate in MSAA for English Language Arts and Math. All alternate assessments have the same test window, which begins March 19th through May the 4th. Please ensure that students enrolled in these grades have the correct alternate assessment course code identified in their schedule. So who participates in an alternate assessment? A student with a significant cognitive disability that is pervasive, meaning it affects the student's learning across content areas and in social and community settings, may be eligible to participate in an alternate assessment. But not all students with autism or intellectual disabilities have a significant cognitive disability, nor does classroom placement determine assessment participation. The decision to assess a child on an alternate assessment is a life-changing decision for an individual. The eligibility requirements have a three-pronged approach. The first is to determine that the student has a significant cognitive disability. This is a review of student records that indicate a disability or multiple disabilities that significantly impact intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior. The second prong is that the student is learning content linked to or derived from state content standards. This means that the goals and instruction listed in the IEP for the student are linked to the enrolled grade level standards and address knowledge and skills that are appropriate and challenging for this student. The student's disability or multiple disabilities affect how the student learns curriculum linked to the standards. The student is learning content that is linked to or derived from the standards that are appropriately broken into smaller steps. Finally, the student requires extensive, direct, individualized instruction and substantial supports to achieve measurable gains in the grade and age-appropriate curriculum. This is further defined as the student requires extensive, repeated, individualized instruction and support that is not of a temporary or transient nature, and the student uses substantially adapted materials and individualized methods of accessing information in alternative ways to acquire, maintain, generalize, demonstrate, and transfer skills across multiple settings. The goal of the TCAP Alternate Assessment Program is to ensure that students with the most significant cognitive disabilities achieve increasingly higher academic outcomes and graduate from high school with post-secondary options. We recognize that a well-designed summative assessment alone is not enough to achieve this goal. That's why we have content modules to assist teachers in science and social studies. That's why we have the NCSC Wiki site, which has communication help and instruction curriculum support for this population of students. We will now begin discussion of the multi-state and alternate assessment, or MSAA. MSAA is an adaptive test, meaning the test questions will vary depending on student response. Students enrolled in grades 3 through 8 and 11 participate in MSAA for English language arts, which includes writing and math. And this test window is about a month long in the spring. MSAA is based on content connectors, which are discrete grade levels and skills. Teachers are scoring some of the constructed response items, but overall, the test is standardized. It is standardized with adaptations and accommodations, which allow for group comparisons. MSAA is provided to teachers via an online platform that is accessed by msaassessment.org, and the student will encounter varying item types. We have both selected and constructed response items. A math constructed response is at varying grade levels, and the writing item type contains both a selected and a constructed response. The items are tiered to vary the complexity, and the test administrators are provided scripted directions to walk through each level of the test. If a student is precluded from accessing the test online, test administrators may print a copy of an item or multiple items by selecting the Open Test in PDF from the Actions button. Large print forms are not available because the font size may be magnified in the online platform. And if a paper version is required and test administrators print an item, projection systems or other magnification devices at the classroom level may be used. To prepare for MSAA, there are online training modules for both the test coordinators and teachers. If a district chooses in-person training, that is a district choice. But all test administrators must achieve an 80% or more on the final quiz before a test administrator can access the directions for test administration or the actual test for their students. There is not a quiz associated with the test coordinator modules. Reading materials, which will also help prepare for the MSAA, are the Test Administration Manual, Directions for Test Administration, and we also provide sample items. When thinking of the MSA administration, we must determine a consistent, secure location. This is oftentimes in the student's classroom because we want the test administration experience to mimic daily instruction. The teacher should determine a schedule for both practice and for testing, keeping in mind that the tests may be spread out over the entire test window. The teacher should also determine any test features or accommodations that must be turned on prior to the student starting his or her test. The test administrators must have an account in MSAA that is activated. Once that account has been activated, then you may download the user guides, the sample test items, and those DTAs. Students should be provided an opportunity to practice with the test features, any accommodations, and practice the test with the student's individualized assistive technology device. The test administrator will then log on to the platform, verify demographic information, as well as the learner characteristic inventory, and select any accommodations. Some students may require a student response check, and once all of those steps have been completed, the test can begin. Once the test is complete, meaning the students' responses have been submitted for the final time, A survey will be generated for the test administrator. Then the test administrator should shred everything. The NCSC project, which then created the MSAA, developed curriculum and instructional resources, as well as professional development modules for educators. And these are posted to the NCSC Wiki site, as well as embedded in the test platform. TCAP Alternate Science and Social Studies was designed using a similar process as MSAA, meaning alternate assessment targets from the grade level standards were developed, from those underlying concepts were developed, and finally, item families consisting of 4 tiers or levels were developed from the alternate assessment targets and the underlying concepts. Tennessee educators were involved in the development of the alternate assessment targets, the underlying concepts, and in the item review to develop TCAP Alt Science and Social Studies. This input played a critical role in the assessment design to ensure quality, rigor, and accessibility. TCAP Alt for Science and Social Studies is a paper and pencil test. This is delivered in 3 pieces. It is the test items book, the student response cards, and an answer sheet to record the answers. TCAP Alt Science and Social Studies has approximately 20 to 30 multiple choice questions for each content area. The answer cards are on perforated paper for student use. The teacher will complete the answer sheet for the student. And just like MSAA, the assessment can be delivered over multiple days and as many times as needed for the student to respond. Grade 2 Alt was also designed in a very similar process as both MSAA and TCAP Alt. And again, Tennessee educators were involved in both the item review and the development of the assessment design to ensure quality, rigor, and accessibility. Grade 2 Alt is also a paper pencil test delivered in the same 3 pieces, the test items book, student response cards, and answer sheet. Grade 2 Alt assesses English language arts and math only, and there are approximately 30 to 40 multiple choice questions for each content area. There is a constructed response item for students. Again, we do not anticipate that the student will respond independently. However, the student typically responds to construct a response is the anticipated response for the test. If the district chooses to administer the Grade 2 assessment, students who qualify for the alternate must be assessed as well. For more information regarding the alternate assessments, both MSAA and TCAP Alt, as well as Grade 2 Alt, you may contact me, Lori Morris, at lori.morris@tn.gov. Part 2 will be presented live at the Spring 2018 Regional Assessment Meetings. Please visit the Assessment Logistics course site and complete the assessment on alternate assessments.